What's going on? Good afternoon and welcome to Live in the Tank with Deyo and Hairston. We are excited about today. This week has been amazing. We're in Take Action Tuesday, and so I hope that you are having a fantastic day. And so as we wait for Keith to jump on here, just wanted to say good afternoon and see who is logging in with us on this amazing afternoon. It's funny here in the New England area, we're about to get this huge snowstorm tomorrow. They're talking 10 to 15 inches and it's beautiful outside. As you can see behind me, I got the bright sunny sunshine coming through the window. And so it's crazy just thinking about the calm before the storm. What's going on, Lisa? How we doing? Corey, what's going on? Welcome to Live in the Tank. So just go ahead and comment below. What are you thankful for today? What are you thankful for? Always want to start off with some gratitude. I think it's huge if we can go ahead. One word, gratitude. What are we thankful for? YOLO in the building. Awesome. What's going on, my little man here? He's flexing on him. Okay, nope, keep him low. Keep him low. I got to tell him nothing over the head with these dumbbells. He's sitting there curling. All right, nothing over the head, just curl, bud. All right, awesome. What's going on, YOLO? In the house. Oh, nice. Shirley, what's up? Awesome. Doug, what's going on? So we're going to be talking about a very important subject today because I believe that this is the sole purpose that success happens, right? It's being able to get out of your comfort zone. Really getting out of your comfort zone is the key here. Amazing friends, awesome. Sun in your face, awesome. Thank you so much. You're thankful for his amazing products. Yes! Let's go. The opportunity to work in this business as amazing people you meet. Absolutely. Now, I completely agree. That's one of my gratitudes as well as my little guy right here behind me, who I get to spend all of my time with, which I'm so thankful for. Ty, what's going on? How we doing? Awesome. Let's go. Gun show. Let's go. I can't wait, man. Guns out, sun's out, guns out. I can't wait, man. Just a few more months, man. We're going to be out here, shirts off, ready to rock and roll. So, talking about your comfort zone, I think this is the sole purpose, right, of why people become successful, is where they can gauge and measure where it is that they feel comfortable and where they're not pushing themselves, right? And so as we progress in life, okay, and the obstacles and the challenges arise, all of a sudden we can either find ourselves in a rut where we're just finding whatever it takes to survive, or we can find that we're thriving in those moments and we're saying, okay, well, I'm gauging my activities now based on the level of comfort that I feel, right? And so when we talk about comfort, we're talking about that uncertainty level, right? Where belief and faith really needs to drive the fuel to being successful. Little man sitting there flexing on him. Oh my goodness, you're so cute. So, as you start to just measure your progress in life, your uncomfort zone is going to be the cream of the crop. That's going to be where the gold happens, right? And where you start to grow through your challenges and start to realize where you're at. It's just like going to the gym, right? When you go to the gym, the first thing you want to do is you want to track your progress. Okay, so when you go to the gym for the first time, you want to write down your weights, you want to write down your exercises, you want to write down how many times you did it, right? And then that way you can gauge it towards the next time you go to the gym. So then you go to the gym and say, okay, last time I did chest, this is what I did. Last time I did legs, this is what I did. And just bump it up just a bit, right? So that comfort level becomes a little more uncomfortable and the strength becomes a little more improved, right? So you just continue to gauge that, right? And the same thing goes when setting goals, right? We need to measure it towards our uncomfort zone and we need to see, right? And so in my business, my uncomfort zone, right, is leading a group of others, right? And keeping it about them, okay? Because as a leader, you always want to see what's best for people, but then you start to put your own opinion on it. And so that's a challenge that I always have, that I got to remind myself, it's not about me. It's not about me. It's not about me. It's not even about what I see for these individuals, right? It's about me understanding where they want to go and helping them get further and further closer or closer and closer to their goals. I'm going to go ahead and bring Keith on here so we can get really into this. But yeah, I think it's a measure our progress based on the amount of content that we have at the point of where we have it. So what's going on, brother? How we doing, man?
Yes. Ready to rock and roll. Get this Tuesday going.
I love it. Well, we have a few people on here talking about what they're thankful for, and we're getting into, uncomfort, right? And so I started just relating the uncomfort zone to the gym, right? And making sure you're tracking your weights, your reps, your sets, all that good stuff. And then each day that you go in there, you want to increase the uncomfort, right? And make it a little more challenging, but also increase the progress that you're making, right? So then you don't have, you don't have an unknown with, okay, well, I did this much weight last time. You don't have an unknown where you can say, well, today I'm feeling this weight, or today I'm feeling that weight, right? You have this weight is where you're at, right? And so everything above that's going to be uncomfortable. Anything below that is going to be comfortable. So Keith, when it comes to finding how to get out of your comfort zone, what is something that you can share with everyone that you found to be helpful when really pushing yourself to become better?
Well, first and foremost, we want to go back and identify what our desired outcome is, and in making sure that we have one for every single day. And a lot of times we can have multiple outcomes throughout the day, but if you're somebody who isn't great at setting goals or isn't great at setting a schedule for yourself, make sure that you have at least one desired outcome for the day. And so when you do that, you can then identify where the progress is coming, where the growth is coming from, and you can also look back on that day and define what tomorrow is going to look like, because we're making sure that we better our best. So once you identify that outcome, you want to find out what that purpose is from the outcome. And we talked about that last week. We talked about the OPA principle, right? The outcome, purpose, and then massive action. And it really is in the massive action where the most uncomfort is felt and where you can find the most uncertainty. And then make sure that that area where you're finding that, the massive action, when it comes to creating the process or the plan where the massive action is going to happen, what you want to make sure you do is identify where your strengths are, so you don't put yourself in a position where you can get hurt. You still want to be working within your strengths, but you want to make sure, like you said, Aaron, if you're able to push 50 pounds of resistance, say on a bench press, make sure that you're not going down to 45 and calling it massive action. So we know that for that growth to happen, it has to be above that threshold. So when we look back on the days before or the other times that we've done the certain things where we're going to get into action in those areas, look back and find out where the pain points were. Where did you push up against that uncomfort zone? And then where did they show up? So when I find out where those pain points were, where was I the most uncomfortable the last time I went to do this? And once I can identify that, then I know that it's one step above that. It's literally right above it where that's going to be the edge of the uncomfort zone for me. And then then at that point decide how much discomfort can I tolerate, and the way I find that out is what am I looking to achieve, and how often will I need to achieve it? Because if I go through too much, what I can do is break down to a point where I cannot recover in order to do it again, or in order to get up and get into my next day. So when you're looking at strength training, because that's something that we often do here, and that's something that we discuss, when you look at something like that, if we were to go crazy in the gym and do a full body training session, but then the next day know that we're going to be running a race, that wouldn't be very smart. So when we talk about uncomfort zone, we talk about finding that areas that you can grow in. Make sure that it's measured, and then you're taking into account how long it's going to take you to recover from that uncomfort. Anytime there's growth, there needs to be rest. It's growth and rest, because rest and recovery is where you're going to see the growth show up. So when you talk about it from weight training, that's why we don't, most of us anyway, unless your name is Aaron Hairston or a couple of unique individuals that can train the same muscle every single day, and you're an anomaly and have it not affect you. You want to make sure that you're giving that time for rest and recovery. So that's really where what I take into account is that you look for your outcome, then identify your passion, where the why is coming from, and then get into massive action, but identify what's coming next so that you can understand how hard to push and how long it's going to take for you to rest and recover, and what techniques you're going to use at that point.
And being able to recognize when you need help, right? Being able to recognize when you need help, because here's the thing, right? So say you're in the gym, all right? And we love this analogy because it's a great way to visualize, for those out there listening to this, really to find your uncomfort, right? Because sometimes the uncomfort zone can be so well said by your unconscious mind that you don't even realize you're being uncomfortable, right? It just seems normal, right? And that's not an uncomfortable place, right? Normal could be an uncomfortable place if you realize that it was, but because your unconscious mind knows exactly what to say, you don't know how to relate that. So we're using the gym analogy so you can realize what it feels like by using the pain of recovery or doing some sort of exercise. And so when you need help, okay, in your life, and I used the analogy this morning about, using a net to catch fish, right? And so it's important to realize when the net is getting to the point where it's about to pop, right? That's a good place to be if you're growing, right? And you're expanding, but it's not a good place to be if you have nobody else to help you there, because it will eventually pop because the resistance is too strong, right? So knowing when to call the team in just to help you push through, right? So that you can gain that extra strength, you can hit that goal, right? That personal best, whatever it may be that you're working towards, right? And not giving up when it becomes this most uncomfortable point, and realizing that there's always help that's available. It's just like being in the gym. You may be on your last set and you're going for 8, right? And you get up there and you got 6 and you're like, all right, well, you know what? I'm going to call in some help. I'm going to ask the guy next to me and I'm going to say, hey, listen, you mind spotting me? Give him some instructions. Hey, listen, just enough so that I can get it off my chest. I don't want you to help it. I don't want you to grab it unless I call for it. I said, but I just want to know that you got my back so that the net doesn't pop and all the fish fall out, right? So I just want to ask you for that help. And so when you realize in your life what your limits are, okay, you can go just beyond that limit if you have some help. But if all you can do is go to your limit, right, what you're going to do is you're going to find yourself at a plateau, and eventually it gets discouraging, right? And so we talk about the team. We talk about recognizing when that threshold happens and calling in support so that you can just push through it, right? And feeling that I got that 8. I had a little help on that 8, but you know what? Mentally, I realized that I got that 8. And so now it's a win, right? Whereas if I had 6 and I had no help, I probably would be smart to just rack it up and say, I may have got maybe 6.5, 7, but I wasn't going to chance it because I had no help. All right. So recognizing where that threshold is and pushing that bill every single time. And, Keith and I, we push each other all the time. And so some days I'm at a 10 and he's at an 11. Some days I'm at an 8 and sometimes he's at a 6. And we just keep pushing and yin and yanging each other so that we can help each other to continue to push through without popping, right? And without injuring, or like Keith said, right, getting to the point where now you need 4 days to recover because you were silly with the decisions that you made to push well beyond your means without any help.
Yeah, it's really that nothing great happens inside your comfort zone. Nothing great happens. There's not a lot of joy found in driving and staying in certainty, staying in a place where you feel comfortable, because eventually you're going to be there. You're going to be there, and it's going to be dull, right? There'll be absence of even inception at that point. So it's having a little. It's where the goosebumps happen, right? How many goosebump moments are you going to have in a day? And identify where those happen, and then that's where when your hair is standing on end and you have goosebumps all over your body, that's when you're in direct alignment, and that's a point where you can get into massive action from there. And and you're not going to do it in order to cause injury. You're going to do it and make sure that there's growth there. There's positive growth, and that uncertainty. The ability to be in that uncertainty and not panic or get into a place of fear or think there's going to be loss involved. What happens is that's a muscle too. So getting into that uncomfort zone, being uncomfortable, that's a muscle as well. And what happens is the more and more you do it, the more and more you have the need to push. So that's important to understand. So why don't we do a quick check-in? Lisa talks about how it's so important to know when we can help each other out on our teams too. So yeah, what we'll be able to do is we'll be able to tolerate a lot more risk because of the ability of our team, and we can also endure a lot more pain. You can put yourself through even more because there's going to be somebody there that if you do slip, if you do fall, they're going to catch you, and you can learn from it. And it won't be where I'm an example of I was reckless. I went into this uncomfort zone, I got reckless about it, and now I got hurt or I can't recover. In time, you'll be able to fall just far enough to learn the lesson and have a teammate get your back. That's important too, Lisa. So great point.
Yeah, and you got to ask questions, right? You got to ask questions, you got to stay in touch. And, Lisa, it's important that we recognize that, because here's the thing, right? As much as you need them, they're going to need you and vice versa, right? And so if you feel comfortable enough to say, hey, listen, where can I help you today? Where are you pushing your comfort zone today? Where are you working on this week? What are you focusing on? And so as you start to realize those things, you also need to ask yourself that same question. And so it can be mutual, because the cool thing about it is that if the person that you're trying to help realizes they can help you, right? It's going to encourage them to realize that they're valuable too, right? So don't just be one-sided as being the one to help, right? Be also available to be the helped person, right? So that other individual can work with you. And so that's where you can help each other to realize that, you know what, we're finding this threshold, we're finding this point of uncertainty, and I just need a little support. I need a little more belief in this area, and boom, next thing you know, that person's crushing through their plateau, they're ready to go, they're crushing their goals, and now you can go ahead and thank them for the support that they're giving you as well. So asking questions, staying in touch, and being creative, right? Being creative with the relationships. You know, we talk about relationships all the time, and sometimes we take for granted the way that a relationship starts, right? Because, you know, we're not always going to be in control of how we interact with people, right? We just go get gas, and the next person that is getting gas next to you, you couldn't predict that there was going to be this individual there, but you knew that it was possible, right? And next thing you know, you start chopping it up, or the pump stops, you know, there's some type of electrical problem or something. The next thing you know, it's like, hey, did your pump stop? You know, oh, well, what's going on? You know, and next thing you know, you're having a conversation. Now, we have a choice, right? We have a choice. Sometimes that can be really uncomfortable, especially if we're late, right? We talked about that the other day, of being where you are right now and being present. And so a lot of times we have to realize that the relationships that we build may be the exact key, or that individual may have the exact story that we need to hear to go through, right? Something that hasn't even happened yet in our life. And so it's important that we engage on being present throughout our life so that we can have the answers, right, for those who need them, and also receive the message that, you know, they need the message from you, right? And so like, hey, you know, I need that conversation. So it really goes deep. And when you start thinking about, you know, how that comfort zone piece really plays, because it's so easy to play small, right, and not even realize it. And one of the big keys, you know, for me, Keith, has been the Healthy Mind and Body program. You know, really recognizing that and doing that every 90 days, you know, realizing where my goals are, where are the, you know, where the comfort is, where's the uncomfort, you know, where's my threshold, where's my limits, and then being uncomfortable saying, wow, you know, do I really want to set that goal? Because if I set that goal, that means I got to shoot for it, right? And it's like, uh-oh, but then you say, okay, well, that's my threshold, and I need to find somebody that has achieved that so that they can go ahead and just give me that little spot of belief so that I can go ahead and achieve that goal myself.
I mean, Aaron, the biggest place where I've seen my ability grow in being able to not only, because I can get comfortable in uncertainty. I know that that's close to number one, and it used to be my number one driver. Now I understand that I needed to move it back a little bit. I needed to be driven by love and understand that exists from source, and then from that. And that self signifying ability and being able to understand how much you're loved can then what that'll do is that'll be not a false sense of security, but a true sense of security, so that I can move even further into that uncomfort zone and then explore uncertainty even more. What I was doing before was I was driven by the uncertainty. I knew that was necessary, and I had a high tolerance for stress and risk. And what it was doing was, because I was driven so much by that, because it was my number one, I wasn't getting depth from it. I was doing a lot of things on the surface, and it was almost reckless to a point. And then I'd get into, here's an example. If uncertainty is one of your number one drivers, when it was for me, I found myself having to have pressure on me in order to do something, right? Aaron, we've both been there. We're working on it. We're recovering, right? We're recovering pressureholics, right? We would pay bills last minute, do things show up last minute, pay things late because the pressure wasn't enough. All the fees that add up, all the people that get left out, and the people that you get that end up being turned off, those certainty seekers. So what was happening was we were living our lives, but we were doing it at the expense of others at times, even though it wasn't injuring or hurting somebody. It wasn't as efficient as it could be. So I took uncertainty out of number one, and I reprogrammed my software, put love in there first. Because if I can do that, then I know that where everything is coming from source, and it slows me down a bit to understand and reflect and really be in the moment. And then I can go deeper into uncertainty. I can have even if I create more depth there, I have a greater capacity to grow. So for me, what I now do is I look for things that I can knock out early that I used to wait till the last minute, so that I can work on that muscle, so that I can figure out how to operate with efficiency and be in my greatness without having to have all this pressure added on top of me. Now, when I was playing sports, it happened naturally. I was put into those situations, and it happened more often. But what it did to me was that it overlapped into my personal life, and it doesn't relate as well. It doesn't have as much congruence and alignment. And so that was something that I am 42, and I'm still dealing with that. Something I looked forward to in sports, I'm now doing in my personal life, and it wasn't good. It was actually coming across as inefficient or almost reckless at times. So for all of the people that are out there now, that if you find yourself waiting to the last minute to pay bills and saying, this is how I afford it. This is when the money comes in, I can pay it this way. And you're making excuses and you're creating a
Uh-oh, did we lose you, Keith? We lost you, brother. Are we still connected, everybody? Chris, what's going on? Elizabeth, what's up? Jeremy, what's going on, bro? Awesome. Maniz, what's up? So I'm gonna go ahead and am not playing at 100%. And a lot of times where I realize that is when I start to see my results, right? So I look at my results and I say, okay, compared to last week or compared to yesterday, how were my results? And the first thing I realize is that if I've stayed the same, then I'm not pushing myself. And so I ask myself, well, what's missing? And it can be the way that I set intention in the morning, or it can be the way I wrote down my sets, right? If I didn't write it down during my workout, or the way that I communicated throughout the day, and I realized that I didn't give it 100%. I was distracted. I wasn't listening intentionally, right? I wasn't listening to understand. I was listening just to be there presently, but not really presently. So, I start to recognize the areas because I'm like, okay, well, that conversation didn't go the way I wanted it to go. And the way I wanted it to go is I wanted to make sure that I found something that I can help someone improve. Right. And so, with my kids, being present with them and making sure that I sit down with them and go through some things and say, okay, well, how did you do on your test? Right. And there was days where I was like, man, I could have did so much better, with the children and making sure that the thing that they needed to learn, I created a way for that message to get delivered. So there's all ways in our lives that we can look at and evaluate our progress. And the number one thing is measurement, right? And so realize that, if you're feeling uncomfortable about a goal, or if you're feeling uncomfortable about something that you're being asked to do, the first thing you got to do is share gratitude and say, wow, I'm really thankful for this little bit of pressure I'm getting right now. Because if it wasn't for that pressure, I know that there's no way I'm going to become better, right? I know that for a fact, right? That pressure, builds great things. I mean, look at coal, right? When it's pressurized, it turns into a diamond. It's a great analogy. You start thinking about it like, wow, what else in my life can I turn into a diamond? And so as you start to arrive to that pressure and to that sense of uncertainty, I want you to embrace it and have gratitude for it, because there are people right now that would do anything, right, to be pressured doing something because they know that it relates to value, and they just don't see the opportunity right now. And so take gratitude, take that into you and say, you know what, I'm thankful for this right now, okay? And then from there, decide to be the best person for the job. You decide, not somebody else, because if it's on your plate, then it's been called already by someone for you to get done. Now you have to make a decision to be great. Now there are times in life where you can play at 80% and nobody else would recognize that you were only playing at 80%. And the perfect analogy is, I remember when working, in my computer job as an employee, I remember that there were days that I was feeling 70%. I still got the job done, and so there was still a paycheck at the end of the week. Right? And I realized that, I don't have to give 70% of times, right? And I can still get by. Whereas as an entrepreneur, I know that my results are a direct reflection on my effort, right? So now it was a game-changing moment and a humbling moment, to realize that, there are times in my life that I'm not playing at 100%. And so how do I adjust that? Well, my results, right? Do I want better results? And I got to focus on my effort. Right? I got to focus on my attitude. I got to focus on my gratitude. I got to focus where I'm getting pressured so that I can grow into the greatness that I've been developed in. And, it's easy for us to die with greatness and never use it. And that's the sad part, right? So I want you all to just realize where the pressure is in your life, whether it be in relationships, your career, financial, family, whatever it is, fun, hobbies, right? Find where that pressure is and embrace that pressure, knowing that you're going to become better once you realize the value of that pressure. It's so amazing. And so for all you out there that chimed in, thank you so much. A lot of what's going on, brother, all the way over from the UK, man. Jack, what's up? Lisa, game changing. Absolutely. Regina, what's going on? Aaron, what's up? Anise, Chef, what's going on? I love it. I love it. I love it. You know, and so really finding that pressure, embracing that pressure, taking it on, and creating a diamond out of that pressure is my best advice for you. Because once you're able to do that, and you do that unconsciously, greatness is only around the corner. All right, guys? And so for hundreds of thousands of people out there that are going to share this message, continue to comment below. We will get back to everyone. We want to make sure that everyone is moving forward in life, because progress equals happiness. And that's something that I truly, 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 truly want for everyone, is just progress. All right, guys? God bless. Have a fantastic Take Action Tuesday, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Take care.